Well, welcome to Windy Videos. Today we're going to have part 2 of restoring a Sportbike muffler. This got delayed, it got postponed, they didn't ship the right parts, it was complicated at the end. But in the end we got the part put together. We're just waiting for the clamp now. If you're new to the channel, we do two-stroke projects. We try to focus on restoring, painting, doing custom wheels, among other things. Basically some custom painting every winter, and we're lining that up as we speak. Polishing, do a lot of polishing of engine parts and peripheral things like this muffler. We make carbon fiber parts from scratch and aftermarket parts, and do the maintenance on our collection of motorcycles. Now this is going to be part 2 of rebuilding, restoring the muffler for this bike, the original Yoshimura muffler that came with the bike. Part 1 is already out on the channel. You can check that out if that interests you. But today we're going to repack the muffler. And seal it. But we're not going to be able to mount it to the bike. And here's the reason why, and it's a simple thing. Amazon, and I love Amazon. They've been real good in the past. I ordered all 3 parts at the same time. The packing, the springs, and the clamp. So I have 3 parts coming. 2 of the parts come within 2 days, 3 days. And what happens on the 3rd or the 4th day, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be here any day now. What happens, they send me a notice, it's going to be here in 2 weeks. Well, that's terrible. So now I know Steve has the original clamp that went on here, but I've already ordered the new one. So what I thought I'd do a little workaround today. I'll get the muffler repacked, reassembled, finish the polishing. There's a couple other little things I want to do there. And then we'll be ready for the day that the clamp comes from Amazon, and I'm sure it's coming from China, and I'm sure it's on the dock at coming from China out in California. But always, this is my whole point. I always want to have a way of doing a workaround. Now I did the polishing on this to get ahead on this, so I'd have the second part of it all in one bite. Well, now I got to do a workaround and do the second part in 2 parts. But it's a rainy day. It's not supposed to stop raining all day. So this would be a good thing to take this. This is one of the things high on the priority list before the winter sets in, to get this and get a nice test ride on a bike. Now everybody that follows the channel knows I have 6 or 7 these spare mufflers that I got them in drawers and cabinets. But the Norton muffler that's on here now, it runs the best, but it's really too loud for where we're riding in the last year or 2. And what inspired me is I took the Norton muffler that I had on the 750, took that muffler off, put on the Muzzy, which is a lot quieter. And by the way, this is probably ready for a repacking too, if we get another rainy day, just to make it even quieter. But this is pretty funny. When I had the tuned exhaust, DGs, I had two sets here. And what happened is, I would repack the silencers. They'd stay nice and quiet for about a month, and then start getting louder and louder. When I'd take them apart, they were soaked with 2-stroke oil. Now just some generic information may be useful. They do make special packing for 2 strokes. They make special packing for 4 strokes. And then they make universal packing, which is what I bought. So, but if you have a 2-stroke, I would buy the stuff that's specifically made for 2 strokes. I think it absorbs the oil less, or whatever it does, I have no idea, but when I used to pack it with the universal stuff, it got oily in a couple of days. Now the other thing, when I made the muffler cans for the R1, what I did, I carefully packed them so tight. Well, that lasted 9 years, so I'm kind of thinking maybe that's the way to go. Now other generic information, I had ordered, that's an extra R1 windshield there. And when I had ordered this windshield, and it came from China. I know it because I got the emails. And what happened is, and it's really funny, a week later it was here. But you know what, that's not true now. So what I'm suggesting is people that are waiting for parts, you got to add in an extra couple of weeks because of the way the whole thing is evolving with getting trouble with the supply chain. And I've just gotten burned on it right now. So it has warmed up. The fish are eating again. They had stopped eating, and we still have a couple of flowers. And we still have the beautiful crepe myrtle there. That's what's affectionately known as arch tree. But you can see by looking at the sky, it's going to be raining all day. So we'll try to get this next step on a muffler done today. I see the first batch of cookies is already out of the oven. I'm getting hungry already. So we got the paint for our MT project. We got these parts rough polished. And we are ready for, I hope, at least the next step on this Restore the Muffler project. This is a Yoshimura muffler, 30 years old. So again, the purpose of our channel is to share useful information. And I think it's useful information that the way the supply chain has evolved, it's really a pain, to be honest. And all these things, we belong to Prime, of course. We buy things almost every day. But these are two little things that while I was doing the restoration on a muffler, the muffler springs, I don't even have the springs. And I figured this would be a good time to upgrade. Now these are the nice springs that twist, like you see on modern sport bikes. And they have an extension. I don't know what, if this is supposed to be the extension or what. I didn't figure this out yet. But anyway, these were only $7, so I figure as long as I'm doing this restoration, I'll get nice brand new springs. Now I'm assuming what these are is they want you to weld these to the pipe or the muffler or whatever, so that, and that's the whole objective here. But see, what we have is this really hooks right on there, and it hooks onto the other side. And you see, this is what's nice, is you can twist these. So that makes a giant difference too. When you go to install them and the thing is like that and you're trying to twist it and bend it, these are really a nice upgrade for $7. Now before I start, I'm going to take this part, which after I'm done with the packing, and this is a really good tip. After I finish the packing in here, I'm going to want to press that part back in. Now a lot of times, because these parts are old, they've got carbon buildup and everything, it's really a job to get that in. I don't want to hit it with a rubber hammer or anything. But there's a good trick that's worked for me in the past whenever I'm doing this kind of a job. Especially if it's a two-stroke where it's really hard. Those fits get all gummed up and everything. I'm going to right now take this part and put it in the freezer. And then if it's still a tight fit when I'm ready to press it in, I will heat this with either a heat gun or with a hairdryer, or I don't want to use a torch on it if I don't have to, but a heat gun will probably be okay. So by heating this, it'll expand that. Putting this in the freezer right now, in 20 minutes it'll be ice cold. That'll make just getting that part on a lot easier. And sometimes if it's a relatively new, not 30 years old, and not all carbon buildup, it'll go right in, but not always. And that is a good tip on anything you're trying to do press fits. That tip works great. This is great. Now that's going to sit in the freezer among Karen's homemade soup. You don't think Karen makes homemade soup? You don't think we do a lot of cooking in this house? She's making cookies right now. Whole house smells nice. Yeah, that'll be cold in about 15 minutes. By the way, that's an old trick they use in machine shop work a lot, is to freeze it and heat it thing and press it together. So this is the new material. It came from Amazon. It's supposed to be universal 2-cycle and 4-cycle at the same time. I haven't opened it up yet to see exactly what it is, but I have some of the older material from previous jobs that I did. And this will make this easy. Now I have the old clamps, but I want to have a brand new clamp on there. So again, just me. This is the old material. And this is, by the way, just for fun. I was packing it, even at getting desperate, packing it with this stuff. And it just didn't last as long as it should. I have some of this material this is actually, it's steel. And this came from inside the R1 stock mufflers when I did them. I have it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, though. Not sure what to do with it, but you can see I've used it already on something. But I've always tried to keep these mufflers with fresh fiberglass in them, because what happens, they just progressively get louder and louder, and a lot of people like it loud. But in the last 2 years, and since COVID, of course, we're limited to where we can ride now, for sure, and I don't want to wear out my welcome. Now, a couple of things about this material. It's relatively cheap. I think it was $10 for one package, and it was like 16 or something for two. So I got two because I'm going to be packing more mufflers, and I'm going to be packing them more often, for the simple reason that I don't want to wear out my welcome. This area that I've been riding, and if you've watched the channel, you know the area. It's wonderful. It's low traffic. It's a beautiful area. The roads have just been repaved. But if you go riding around there with no muffler on a bike, I guarantee you they're going to figure it out. They haven't figured me out yet. Not yet. but we'll see. All right, so this is a nice batting. See, it's actually batting. It's real nice and thick. I'm just going to assume, I got to find my scissors. I'm going to assume I can cut this into strips and then just pack away. Now, when I was packing the two-stroke mufflers, what I was doing is taking safety wire, taking the whole thing apart. You don't have to take the back other piece off. And then safety wiring and compressing this. But it defeats the purpose. If you compress this too much, if you put hose clamps on it or compress this too much, it defeats the purpose. You want, what happens is a sound wave is coming through that little hole and you want it to go, you don't want it to and bounce off. If you didn't have those little holes in the muffler would be just like an ordinary exhaust pipe. What this does, it absorbs the sound. And of course, it can only do it for a certain amount of time. Probably that's why factory bikes don't come with this kind of packing. They come with mechanical baffling and different things, like the MT-09 doesn't even have a muffler. It just has baffles in the cat. So by cutting this up, and I'll do a little test to see how thick this is. But again, I don't want to take safety wire and crush it and squash it. I want it to be that when that sound wave goes in there, it has that nice sound. Now, somebody told me, somebody that has guns, and a good collection of guns too, by the way. Won't mention his name. Everybody knows who it is, though. So, that it's illegal to show how to make a gun silencer. Well, this is how you make a gun silencer, by the way. Maybe I'm going to be in trouble. If there's no part 3 to this, you'll know I'm in prison. So you can see I'm not missing a riding day here, that's for sure. I had to run out to the garage to get some screws. Oh, look at this. Oh, man. At least the house smells like cookies. Now, the whole idea is to pack it full, but not pack it so tight that we lose all the sound absorption. So it's kind of a fine line you got to walk, and I'm going to press it in one strip at a time. And it just takes a little patience. We want to, and it doesn't have to be fancy, but you do want to fill up. You don't want any air in there. Now, when it comes time to put the next piece in, sometimes you have to trim them. Let's see if this works out. That first one I had to trim. I made it too long. This looks about right. And again, it's that the trick is fill it, but don't make it like it's a solid rock. Now it takes almost a whole pack, a whole, they give you 2 for that price, but again, I'm trying my best to get it all in there, and yet not make it, again, so tight. It's a fine line you have to walk. And eventually we get to the end, and Luciano's calling. Luciano's loving his puppy. That's all I can say. Yeah, we're pretty much done here. I don't want to go and get an interference fit here. Now we have to see if we can conveniently get the back cone on. Now for the moment of truth, if this is going to be a nice easy press fit, or we're going to have a problem. Oh, it looks okay so far. So far, so good. Okay, we've got to twist it just a little bit. Now I know what's happening. It's hitting that packing is what's happening. So let me see if this is, I don't want to force this and have a problem. Let me get this in position. This has to go down. This is this one here. It really is a little, it's always going to be difficult because it's a tight fit. There we go. And I know it's catching. I may have to take one layer of the packing out to get the. Now here's a little tip that'll make it easier to put this back together too. I put some WD-40 on this. This edge had a razor edge. It was catching on the tube, and this edge in here more than anything else, it has to be. If that tube is not lined up exactly perfect, it just catches the edge, and you're just going to be frustrated. So getting a nice radius on that. Radius on this, it should make it a little bit easier anyway. Yeah, the more of a radius you can get on that, it's just easier. I got a little sanding drum, a little Harbor Freight sanding drum. This will make it a little bit easier. I don't want to force anything, because what I want to do when I'm all done with this, I want to be able to take this apart again, a couple of years from now, because I don't sell these bikes. I want to take it apart, replace the packing. I want it to be all nice, smooth, easy assembly and disassembly. Now after a nice break for cookies, doesn't everybody need that? What I decided to do here is tap these out and use button head Allen screws instead of rivets, just to make it a little nicer. And also the other advantage is it'll be a lot easier to take it apart than drilling those rivets out. Well, we're coming up on a point today that this is about all we're going to be able to do, and it's still pouring out there. So I just want to clean this up, polish it up a little bit more, and this will be ready for the day, God forbid we ever get that package. Probably a week from now we'll get it. Now, I've been just polishing this as I go along on a Corsetta's job. And of course, once it's installed, the final thing will be I'll, of course, do the same thing over and over again, emphasizing the parts that you see that are visible right when you look at the motorcycle. But I wanted to have the whole part clean before I went on to the next step. Now, luckily, the only place that's really got a flaw in the aluminum is right where the clamp is going to go. So I think that polished up just fine. We can live with that. And having the screws in here, that'll make that just a little bit easier next time we want to repack it. Now, having this part polished, there's an advantage to it. It makes maintaining the motorcycle a lot easier, especially when we ride in the winter and there's salt on everything. When it's polished, it just wipes up clean with a little bit of that polish or wax. So while I'm polishing away, all of these cookies got made. Now, can I take a what I call a free sample?
Free sample.
And that is what Karen's cookies taste like. I got to go back and finish that muffler. Karen's putting them away because she says if she doesn't, I'll eat them all instead of going back to work and working on that muffler. So by day's end, I had it all polished up and cleaned up and back up on the workbench, ready for the next day. And when Amazon decides that they can bring me my clamp, all I need now is the clamp and a rainy day to install it. So Karen and I have a saying in the family that the most important thing in our family is to stay flexible, because every hour sometime our daily schedule changes. Well, anyway, today we didn't plan. This is a giant rainstorm, but the cookies make it worthwhile. So I really was thinking I'd get this all done in one more session. Well, now this is an easy session to mount this to the bike. Once I get the clamp, that'll be an easy thing, and maybe I can do that and get the test ride on the same day if it's a rideable day. But anyway, this is something that I need. A lot of people, again, motorcycles are all personal things. A lot of people like a loud bike. They love it. They go down a highway. And to be honest, I used to like it too. But my riding thing has changed because of the COVID, and because the Harriman Park is just so crowded now, I don't even enjoy being there. And it looks like they're going to make some change at Ducati and Perry's. We don't know yet. But the world is changing around us. And $4.50 gas, that doesn't make it any better either. And this stupid supply chain. You think the government could do something about it, but they can't. That's the reality. So we're just going to be patient, wait for our clamp, and enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is really part 2. If you're still interested, and check out part 1. It's put my name in quotation marks and muffler restoration, and it'll come right up. Anyway, every day's an adventure here. So remember, the purpose of our channel is to share useful, positive information about working on, riding, and things revolving around older motorcycles, mostly older motorcycles. We do work on the newer bikes in our collection too, but basically most of this information that I try to share is about older motorcycles. That's where most of my passion lies, and about painting, and about doing some of these custom features that not many people that post these things, at least I don't see a lot on YouTube, about doing some of these things that are very, very difficult to do, like the custom wheels, just as an example. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends. And of course, I hope, most of all, that we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for watching.